We were trailblazing, money forsaken. 20 different ways you can get to Florida. I'm barely surviving. Rock and roll is reviving. I just wish eating acid was as fun as in the early 2000s. I was eating underside of a spoon. They gave me good advice, but I guess I wasn't immune. Not enough sun and too much moon. And that's a motif that I'm sure we will return to soon. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. I guess this is the beginning. And the sunny check your phone one final time. Silence bitch.
All right, we're live, the Mainline broadcast. This is our official first one. My name is Aja Arnold, Mainline founder and publisher. Some people recognize my voice. This is our first video broadcast though, and I'm joined with Autumn James, the Mainline senior music editor. She doesn't like to be too showboaty about it. And we're joined with Shy. So it's great you came on a live stream TV broadcast. It's great. And Lindsay Thomaston, cultural journalist and organizer. And then Jake Valkenburg is on the airways with us. Thank you guys so much for coming on to do this.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. We got to ring it in with Janie Danger, the song Mise en Place. Janie is one of the 16 artists that is performing at this year's Mainline Music Fest. It's her second annual fest, which, full disclosure, we are shamelessly promoting that during today's show. Nice. I want to do an interview with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution because of its ties to Cop City, but fortunately we have our own outlet to do that. I'm kidding. We already had this planned before I was asked, but the link to see all the information for the lineup of the 3 nights, September 5th, 6th, and 7th, that's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is right there in the banner for you lovely people, tinyurl.com/mainlinefest2025, and we have 16 amazing artists playing, and I'm super excited, and I think we'll get into why we're doing a music festival, but I'm really eager to share, the stage, as it were, with some other folks in Mainline Circle to talk about this year's fest, and I've been leading the organizing on it this year, and I'm just ready to hear other people's thoughts on it, so I'm curious, what are y'all excited about for the fest of the lineup that we have? What are some highlights for y'all?
I personally am, first, let's talk about, this is kind of our first one that we really took a long time to think about, because I think the last one was really spur of the moment. So we've had a lot of time to think about this one and really curate things a little bit more thoughtfully, because the last time we were like, what if we did a music festival? Because that's kind of how we've always planned stuff. But I don't know.
That's really true. And more specifically, last year it was kind of spur of the moment in response to people boycotting South by Southwest.
Yeah, that's right.
Because of South by's sponsor connections to things like Raytheon and military defense technology. It was very spur of the moment. So, yeah.
But yeah, I guess what I'm most excited for, one, is that this year, because we planned a little bit differently, it's not in July and it's not going to be crazy, crazy hot like it was last year. But I like that we're in multiple different venues. We're in different parts of town this year. I think that really brings the community together in a different way because I think that was a part of our original intention was that this was bringing together different neighborhoods in different parts of our community. Um, but yeah, I'm also very excited. I was talking before we went live. My favorite Atlanta band right now is Bounds, and I'm really excited about them being on the fest this year. And Posture Clinic, but we'll talk about them later.
Thank you. I was leaving that dramatic pause there open, waiting for you to finish your sentence, which I noticed was incomplete until you said the band that I am in. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, excited again to be around town and to venues that I think have always have long had a place for the DIY scene here, but I think here in the past year, with us losing many of our venues to gentrification or perhaps abuse apologism, Star Bar and Thinking Man have become really critical places for DIY music to be able to be a space where the community can come out. So super excited there. And I think also critically, Mainline's curation has always prioritized sonic diversity, which is something that I'm really excited about here as well. Believe it or not, Atlanta is not just a place for a white cishet dude fronted power violence. We have a little bit of everything, and that's definitely showcased in this lineup.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this festival because I feel like festivals are such like a good coming together moment. Especially like this year, we had kind of like echoing what Lindsay said, we've lost some of our venues or just spaces where we can gather. So I feel like Ras Fest earlier this year and Rectacular this year was like good like coming together moments for the scene. Especially like Ras Fest, highlighting a lot of different local artists and putting them on bills with like bigger acts. Like Snooper or other acts. And then for this festival, I'm excited because it's like a scene that kind of celebrates itself. We've had a bunch of like different all locals bills, but to have it so concentrated with one weekend, I'm just really excited because especially like each night, just you get such a eclectic, different amount of sounds, different amount of genres, people from different scenes, people that have just joined, people that have been here a couple of years or been here for about a decade. I think it's going to be really cool.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make my whole face the screen just then. That was a total accident. Fuck you, Jake. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I thought that was Asia talking. I was like,
no, I was responding to some of the comments because people are tuning and I'm enjoying talking to people. But anyway, we're talking about the lineup. So I want to just run through the lineup super quick. All right, y'all ready? We're just going to run through it top down. So Friday, September 5th at Star Bar, we have Night Palace, Taylor Alexander, Small, Sleepers Club, Posture Clinic, Savoy. And we just added a solo set by Melissa Chilson, who is a Posture Clinic member. We'll talk more about that. And then Saturday, September 6th, we have Bimbos, Janie Danger, Major, Bounds, Fun Isn't Fair, Mirror Move, and DJ Cave Nug. And then Sunday, September 7th, which is now at Thinking Man Tavern, we have Elisa Sparkle. It's their debut live show. Stunner, Thalmus, and the amazing Malbanks, which I'm so excited that Malbanks is playing. And just added DJ Crystal Visions. So yeah, I want to like pass the mic in a second. I will say, so one of the things, Jake, I saw in your notes like before we went live is that you very correctly clocked, like it was either you or Lindsay or both of you clocked that like each of the nights kind of have their own theme a little bit. Saturday night is the rock night. I think that was one of Jake's notes. Like Saturday night is the rock night. And everyone has mentioned Baum so far. So I would like to take a moment to just talk about like why y'all are so stoked about Baums, and whoever wants to talk about Baums a little bit.
I always feel like the Stefan character on SNL and like Atlanta's hottest new band is Bounce. I feel like that's like come out of my mouth actually in conversation.
I told someone earlier today that Baums was the best band in Atlanta.
They've just come out the gate. Like I think it was their third show was when I saw them for the first time back in December of last year. And
Mhm.
you know, I've been doing this for a long time. Like it's harder now to have new and exciting music experiences, especially live. And they just kind of blew me away. And that doesn't happen a ton anymore. And they felt so, I mean, they were so just like locked in a way that you just don't see new bands. They had just, this was a very thoughtful project, obviously. And it's also like, I'm like allergic to like long songs, but everything's very opusy and there's a lot of repetition with very small changes. And it's so engaging. And it's also heavy and proggy, but also feels indebted to like 2000s indie rock. And they just knocked my socks off. So immediately I was like, they're one to watch for sure.
Autumn has a wild theory that no song needs to be longer than 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I do think that.
Speaking to our sliced attention spans, the brain rotted Autumn James.
But Bounds is saving us with the 5-7 minute epic post-punk epic
Go.
song.
Let's go.
I mean, I agree though, and the songs earn their length, as like a good friend of ours would say. Shout out to Karan, who I don't think is here, but the songs like fly by. The first time I saw Bombs, they actually were part of the opening sets for Allison's Halo, which like opened up Jimmy Eat World opened up for Allison's Halo like way back in the day before Jimmy Eat World became like really big. So Mallbangs and Bombs were opening up for them. And I was like, oh my God, y'all are in this like cool new club with Jimmy Eat World, a band that I've opened for Allison's Halo. And that's the first time I saw Bounce, and I had heard about them, and it just like blew my mind. And I asked Seth like on the spot if they would want to play at the fest. And something that I like about what we do at Mainline and like curating is that we're not like, I think it's a good mix of bands that are kind of burgeoning and like have a footing and are like somewhat established, but we're also trying to showcase and uplift bands that like we know are super fucking good and maybe don't have like all that recognition yet, but we're trying to like elevate them up to that. And I think something that I always think about when I started as a music journalist and like curator was going into what will remain unnamed publication for a little studio performance, and it became apparent that they wouldn't like book anyone for these studio performances unless they had 10,000 followers on Instagram. And I thought that was like kind of crazy to me, because I'm like, but you're the massive publication, like what about like curating and creating our own culture? So I'm really stoked about Bombs and for more people to hear them, and settling them next to like Bimbos and Janie Danger and Major. Like Major is playing like right after them. I think it's going to be a good fit.
I also am really excited for Posture Clinic. And
God, I'm so glad you brought them up.
if it hasn't been fully expressed, both Aja and Lindsay are members of Posture Clinic. So it's like, it's a conflict of interest for them to say anything
I can't
about
speak about it. So I'm just so indebted and delighted that you keep speaking about Posture Clinic.
exactly. But they're great and they're
I
new.
explicitly said we should not bring up Posture Clinic, just for the record.
And, but
Before
something that,
anyone accuses me of being an egomaniac.
well, no, something I legitimately like about this is y'all are a very new band, and we have a few new bands that are playing. This isn't just super established people that are on these bills. Like it's people that are just kind of getting their feet wet alongside people that have been around for a really long time. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see you guys as well.
Thank you.
Are there
We look forward to definitely seeing you there, Autumn James.
are y'all gonna play anything special? This is now just a posture clinic interview.
I mean, I guess you'll have to come and find out.
Okay.
You know, we always have a little trick up our sleeves.
You do.
Yeah, it'll be fun to be performing and also running the whole weekend. Did that in March. No, I'm excited about Posture Clinic too, and this is going to be one of our members, like last time playing live with us for a while. Melissa is going to be moving to Los Angeles, and literally like the day after, like we were able to sneak in this performance. So really grateful that she's doing that, so we can have like a more proper send off. I let her know, it's like, if I don't cry, like don't take it personally. It's because I'm gonna be like working, but like. And I'm disassociating that you are in fact moving, but I am actually feeling something about it. And then her solo set, what we just tacked on to the very front, she'll be like opening in front of Savoy with her solo set, because she has an EP coming out on August 31st, I believe. So that's going to be really special. And then I'm really excited to see Night Palace. And if people are not already aware of Small and what a big deal they actually are, I'm so excited for Small to be playing as well on that night. Oh, and Taylor Alexander and Sleepers Club, which it's their first show. We have a couple of debut sets, Elisa Sparkle and Sleepers Club.
Yeah, if there are any whole Babes in Toyland fans out there, you can't miss Small.
You cannot.
I mean, fantastic live performers, but also just fantastic, very tongue-in-cheek songwriters. And Taylor Alexander in particular, I'm excited for their set sonically, because again, I'm really happy that Mainline has prioritized having a diverse sonic lineup, and Taylor's definitely going to bring some of those more dancey electronic influence, a little bit of like new wave influence sounds into the space. But they're also just someone who I feel really honored to share the stage with that evening. There's someone that makes me proud to be from Georgia and proud to be in community in Atlanta. I think a lot of people here in the Southeast are familiar with Taylor for her drag artistry, and rightfully so, but she is a talented artist in a variety of mediums, and also I think a really critical activist here with Southern Fried Queer Pride. I think organizations like Southern Fried Queer Pride occupy a similar place to Mainline that's very important to me and to us, which is uplifting progressive radical voices here in the South that are oftentimes maligned by neoliberal media. So I'm so stoked to be sharing space with them.
What part of Georgia specifically?
Like what part of Georgia is Taylor Alexander from?
You said you both come from the same part of Georgia.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, a couple years apart, but Taylor and I graduated from the same high school on the south side of Atlanta. And to give you a portrait of what that town is like, it is a predominantly Black, predominantly working class town, but in the national news. It's known for being a tornado magnet, the backdrop of the Walking Dead and Hunger Games franchises, and also because one of our elected officials once proposed a Confederate History Month. So that's where we're from. But despite all of its gerrymandered politics, there is a really rich performing arts network there. And so everyone just tries to take what they can of the arts in that town and then get out. So that's why we're both in ATL.
Yeah, and
Good old
Taylor,
Richmond, Georgia.
Taylor was actually performing at a little event earlier this year called Flock Party.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, like you said, a lot of people know Taylor from their drag, but Taylor was performing like her own music, like her original songs, which was giving lots of Blood Orange to me. Like, it reminds me of Blood Orange a lot. And Taylor was like, I really want to perform more this year. And we were like, Posture Clinic, Taylor Alexander, sharing a bill. And that's what this bill, the Friday night bill, actually was born out of Flock Party too, because Savoy performed at Flock Party, and Savoy like blew my mind.
Savoy is
and
phenomenal.
Flock Party was like this little, speaking of like the decline in venues and spaces, so we've had some of a return to like backyard shows, or if you weren't at Ras Fest, you were probably at Flock Party because it was the same weekend. And we had the guys doing the projector screen, and I believe they're going to be back on the Friday night show on September 5th on the projection screen. Mirror Move also played that, and our friends who are in Sleepers Club came, and that is another project I'm really excited about and just totally honored that they're doing their debut show. And Lindsay, you know more about Sleepers Club than I do, so I know you spent some time like interviewing them to write about them. But Sydney Ward and Damon Moon of a little band called Bathe Alone. This is like their project that they started writing songs for Sleepers Club right in 2020 when the like COVID pandemic outbreak was happening. But Lindsay, I was wondering if you could tell us more about Sleepers Club's story and kind of the slow burn of Sleepers Club that we finally are going to get to see next Friday.
Yeah, I mean, if you tune into any sort of Atlanta music that's come out in the past several years, you have probably heard the production work of Damon Moon. Sid and Damon both are so incredibly talented. They have been around the way and paid their dues here in the Atlanta music scene. And Sid runs a primarily youth-focused music program here in Atlanta called Little Troublemakers. So that's been taking up a lot of her time here recently, but you know, the itch to make your own music will always come back. And so I'm super stoked that it has come back in the form of Sleepers Club, which is you get a little bit of bubbly, surfy.
A little bit of Always meets
I was gonna say, oh yeah, Always and Best are your like definitely like the biggest comparisons for me. Very bubbly and dreamy, gauzy sort of textures. They're gonna be I'm so excited. They both rock.
Epic.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Sleepers Club. I've met Cindy a couple times, and I think just like seeing the whole, like indirectly, like seeing that's come out of like Little Troublemakers has been so interesting, because like it's just such a wonderful organization that's like lots of important work, and I think like everyone that teaches there, you know, from like Holden and Major and just like everyone who teaches there, just creating this whole scene.
Sparkle.
Yes.
Melissa of Persona Project
and Mason.
Mason.
Anna,
and And
This
Tim.
did low-key kind of become a Mainline and LTM crossover fest because there's so much, and I'm kind of like, how did that happen? Because no, like Elisa Sparkle, Sleepers Club, Posture Clinic, because Melissa worked at LTM until recently. Major, Mirror Move, Andrew and Mirror Move also used to is LTM family as well. Elisa Sparkle. Sorry, Jake, what else? You were starting to say more about LTM and Co.
I just love that connection. I think it's just super interesting. It's like a part of Atlanta music that I did not, I wasn't familiar with until like this past year, and it's been just such a wonderful like corner of the community to get involved with and get to know everybody, because people have like really had the roots here for such a long time. I mean, you said like Sydney and Damon being in Babe Alone, and Damon having his own project. And of course, these people have been here for such a long time. But it's just such a good community organization. And that was kind of all brought to a point with like the with the Safety Switch Posture Clinic Maggie FM show at Drunken Unicorn a month ago that I thought was just
Safety
wonderful.
Switch. I was like,
Switch.
wait, how is Safety Switch
was
not
a
playing
cool-
on this fest?
I know.
Honestly,
I
thought they were
completely know
playing.
they are.
almost.
I'm the person who booked it, and I was talking to Mason. I was just like, wait, why is Safety Switch not playing? But like all the members of Safety Switch are playing.
Are still going to basically be there.
Maybe they can
Yeah.
hop up and do a Ray Gun, the new Mallbank song.
Um,
The collaborative song.
maybe
We'll see.
that will happen.
Maybe I'm willing that into existence.
I don't know. I would have no way of knowing if that's going to happen or not.
Well, that would be a wonderful thing for everyone. But
One
I
would
thought
have
that show,
to come to the Sunday night show at Thinking Man's Tavern to
Yes.
find out whether or not that would happen. So one should
But-
gravitate.
but I
I will
thought that-
figure out. I'll find out.
yeah, I thought that show Drunken Unicorn was just great. Just got kind of a great like community union sort of show for everyone.
Yeah, and that wasn't the first Safety Switch show though. I think but it's the first few.
The first Safety Switch show was at Flock Party.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was their second show,
Okay, because they were awesome. I was so impressed with their
and they
set.
covered.
They did an Addison Rae song.
Princessa of Pop, Addison Rae's Fame is a Gun, which hearing a lot of people say that we haven't had a song of the summer. Literally, song of the summer is Fame is a Gun by Addison Rae and Magic Trick by Safety Switch. So think about that.
So true.
Yeah.
King.
So good.
Yeah. Autumn, what else are you excited about?
There's
lineup?
several people that I haven't seen. I haven't seen Major.
It's pretty major.
That's what
Okay.
what
Pretty major.
you invited me to see them open for Gin Blossoms, which I should have gone to. I should have gone to that.
That was a super fun show. Yeah,
should've-
it was. Major did open for Gin Blossoms back in June.
That's crazy.
It was in Woodstock, and I got a big kick out of their mayor, of all people.
Out of
From
their
that show.
mayor,
The mayor of Woodstock. He was like, I'm a cool mayor. Like, but he's super Christian, but he was giving this whole vibe, like, I'm a cool mayor. I like rock music. Like, we put this together.
Cool rock music like the Gin Blossoms.
Whoa.
Like the Gin
like
Blossoms.
the, like the
and
sin, rock
the
music
Southern
like the sin.
You're right. Yeah.
And he calls himself a Christian man. He calls himself a mayor.
yeah.
The ball.
No, that was a really cool show. But one thing I like about Major is that they'll do a show like that and then they'll play at Mom Said It's Fine. You know what I'm saying? And like Holden is this is Major is Holden's band and all the members are there's a lot more little troublemakers people like Will and Tom.
Thank you for
Are
employing
also-
our creative class, little troublemakers.
Right, yeah. And then Meg on keys and they have like kind of a rotating drummer situation. Will's on the steel pedal or the pedal steel, and that's like a newer edition, but which I love the
So
pedal
sick.
steel. Yeah, it's as long as the sound person doesn't fuck it up and we can hear it, it's great.
Right.
And I love the pedal steel edition, but yeah, Major's coming. They're working on a record right now, and I can't wait to hear it. But so far, like everything that they've had, like a really busy. I believe I met Tom and Holden like a year ago. It was like in August of last year, I think, because I remember because they invited me to like their first show. It was like the first show, and I didn't get to see it that go around. But I was thinking about, as I was writing like a little blurb about Major for like our promo for the fest, I was thinking like they've had a busy year, and everything that they put out so far, in my opinion, has been like banger after banger after banger. It reminds me so much of like this nostalgic, like earnest 90s, like, I don't know if this is what Holden would say, but what I would say, like kind of my big three for Major is like Dinosaur Jr., Broken Social Scene, and a little bit of Dive. Like just a little bit of Dive. And it's a really specific kind of like guitar thing that happens like every once in a while. It's not like you would think of Dive right away. And I don't think Holden had even like listened to Dive before I like told him that. And then I like made him listen to Dive a little bit. But so Autumn, if you were to come to that show, you would really like it, I think.
Amazing. I want to point out Thalamus, which is another project that I think this might be his first show as Thalamus. But some of
I think he's done Thalamus shows. I think it's been a really long time.
Oh, you're right. You're right. This is true. There have been others. I think there was actually a recent one, but Thalamus is the project of Jonathan Marinovich, who you might know from Shepherd, and a lot of other things. Jonathan's been around in the Atlanta music scene for many years. He's, kind of a tried and true old head. And he's great. Shepherd's was a super, super cool band. But yeah, Jonathan's had his hand in a lot of different little projects over the years, and he's just I'm always excited to see he's never not making music, but he's like this was many years ago, but we did this was like when Mainline first started. We did some little shows in like 2019, I think. And Jonathan was doing this project.
Can you see my screen? Is this working?
No. I can see a comment that you
okay. Here is the thing that I wrote.
Yes, Aja did a big story about them at the time because they had just released a
record. October 2019.
Yeah. Because I had done that was
Shepherd's
my first.
Is amazing.
Yeah, that was my first end of year list, and this record was on that because that was the year that came out. And yeah, Jonathan he was doing, it was called Big Star Mafia. That was the project, and it was matchups of Big Star and 3-6 Mafia songs, and it was just wild. But
I wrote about that as well.
I love when somebody's willing to just do something for the sake of doing it, and yeah, that was just a really, really fun project he was doing. So I'm excited because this is now a country project that Jonathan is doing. So yeah, excited to see that as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that project. Shepherd's was a huge band for me getting involved and just like getting to know what Atlanta music was. Like that record, Insignificant Whip, was just eternally lived in my CD player at the time. And just seeing like all the different shows that they did. I remember one show at 529 with the band Karaoke, and it was just, I don't know. I just don't know, like, for me being so new to Atlanta and new to local music, like I didn't know local music could be this good and sound like that and be as engaging. So I'm really excited for this.
Can I play a little? I think that the audio is
play that opening song. Yes. I wore that out.
Do what you want to save your sons. Do what you need to save your sons. Do what you want to save your sons. Do what you need to save your him. Applied to the child of their eye. When did what a sin to cry? Feel bitch young to cool. It goes first to glue. To what you want to do. Do what you know is true. Do what you want to savor your sins. Do.
Okay, so something that I want to say about shepherds, and I'm so glad we're talking about shepherds because Jake started to touch on it. Okay, so this is before COVID happened. This is like pre-pandemic Atlanta music, and I remember seeing
What a time.
shepherds. So I remember seeing shepherds perform I saw them. God, I want to look up Big Star Mafia and play a little bit too. I just remember seeing them playing old 529. Like when small 529, little 529, and I got like Adrian was giving Roxy music like so loud, like so, in such like an amazing and perfect way. That was also very true to Adrian. And when I like told him it reminded me of Roxy music, he like could not believe that was like a reference point because that's also just like so him. And listening to Savor Your Sons, that being like the opening track. And I know that this album and also Shepherds, I happen to know are like currently recording another album. Like they are working on a new record. And
news. Okay.
yeah, and so I'm really excited, but like to the point of like Jonathan, like I've known Jonathan for a long time and he is so amazing because he is like someone who has an idea and doesn't, from like my perspective, doesn't overthink it and just does it. Like Big Star Mafia, it's like I'm doing that for fun. And Thelmus is like a totally different genre. I've never seen Thelmus live. I think he's done it before. And we actually booked him for the fest on the way to go see Major open for Gin Blossoms.
Gin Blossoms.
So it's all connected, you guys. It's all connected. But I was so to hear Jake talking about how much Shepherds like meant to him because they were such like an important band to me as well.
Yeah, I think my first experience with Shepherds was I think in 2017 seeing them open up for Waves at Terminal West, and I remember I think talking to Jonathan and saying I didn't have money for a cassette or something, and he's like, just take it. And I had a cassette player in my car at the time, and again, wore that out. So special, I don't know, special time getting involved with everything. This is so inspired, this page.
I know. Let's just like
I adore this.
I think my favorite was out in the street.
The sound of the cross strings, my bone, my chest, my eyes grow red. It's the color of death. I look into the sky.
Okay, so I'm just saying like the release date was January 3rd, 2020. And I do remember like writing about this in a roundup for Mainline in that January. And then COVID happened. And I just remember I jumped into like 2 feet in. This was when I hit up Autumn and I was like, do you want to just take over the music section completely? Because I'm getting really busy covering like these more emergent needs happening. And a lot of times just like the mind fuck of being like, man, like 2 months ago, I was writing about Jonathan's Big Star Mafia project. And now I'm writing about this fucking like COVID pandemic and also like the uprisings and just how quickly all of that changed. So yeah, I also really want to uplift Malbangs.
Shout out 80.
I don't know if 80 is still in here.
Yes.
But can we talk about Raygun as a group?
Oh, it's so good.
Because it's so good. And let's like listen to just a little bit of it and talk about Raygun.
Hey, yours, bunny bird. You and I, baby, hammer in time and break just a little inside it. You and I both further behind it. We cannot be for me. All people are golden, good people are working, piecing it together. I felt never got as score as
Okay, I had to play like a little bit longer just to get to that. It's just
course,
such
it's
a
great, yeah.
satisfying, which to me it's like the Malvings like classic build-up and release. Like it's kind of a signature Malvings thing to me. And I've listened to Malvings like over the years. I remember like a couple years ago playing Malvings. The first time I think Adie and I interacted directly was when I played like a Malvings song on WRFG. And I would always like share what my set was and tag the artist so they would like know that they got radio play. And Adie was like, oh my God. And I was like, I love Malvings. And it turns out like a lot of other people love Malvings. Like if you look at Malvings like audience and listenership on streaming platforms, there's a lot of like
There's a
listeners
cult
outside of
following.
Atlanta. And you know, and Autumn I'm curious about like Autumn, because you've covered like the random cult following of like Balkans. Shout out to the Balkans Oral History Part 1 documentary on our YouTube channel that Autumn did. And Jake and I have talked about this, and I know we're going to do like a separate episode only about Malvings. But where did this following come from? And also like the evolution of Malvings. This song, I think, just like reflects like this beautiful evolution and collaboration with Safety Switch too.
So, from my understanding, part of this is from Adie has a project called the Voicemail. I believe it's just called the Voicemail Project. That it's like an anonymous voicemail box you can call and leave whatever message you want to leave, and it went viral. It's I think a couple of years ago now, and I think that has funneled people to Malbangs. And it's kind of a fascinating project. I mean, I was like a teen during the time of like Post Secret, those books. Do you remember those? The like y'all aren't too. Some of y'all are not old enough to know about Post Secret, but yeah, I can tell that y'all have not had the experience of sitting in a Barnes and Noble in a small town and just reading the Post Secret books because you don't have anything else to be doing. They're just like these. They were these books of like postcards that people would
Autumn, someone sees your
thank you
Post Secret.
Bianca in the chat for
I was reading
acknowledging
Wikimag, okay?
for that's years later. No, and it was like you'd put in a secret, you'd send this postcard and people would decorate them, and sometimes they were like horrifying secrets or just like gut-wrenching things, and then they would publish these volumes of books filled with the postcards. And they were these really cool little confessional books that were anonymous, and I think the Voicemail Project embodies that in a more digital way. And also, yeah, I'd love to talk to Adie more about that project because it's so interesting. And I mean, I've listened to some of them. They're tough to listen to. I mean, there's people that they're sending messages that are meant for people they're estranged from, or people having like crises sometimes in the voicemails, which is that's a lot. And I know that some of the songs for Malbanks have been inspired by those. And just a really interesting project. And I can remember thinking that, like, because Post Secret is not a thing anymore. The internet has made it where we do not need to do that. But this embodies something really similar. And I was kind of excited to see that the internet still wanted to share in these anonymous, emotional ways. I don't know.
I This makes me think of like recently. So I was writing the blurbs for the promo, but I also write bios for bands sometimes. And I will usually just come up with like kind of a quick reference that's almost like a joke to me. Like when I first see or hear a band, I'm like, oh, it's like with Major, I'm doing one for Major, and I was like, oh, it's like if the movie Donnie Darko were like a band. And then I like build off of that. And then like for Malbangs, I was like, oh, it's like if Elliott Smith never died and like actually found love. That's like what Malbangs is to me.
Mhm.
And that voicemail project to me is like, yeah, I don't know. Malbangs is just so sweet. Lindsay, what say you? Lindsay and Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to theorize that Malbangs also has a strong grasp on the sort of, there is a large sect of esoteric Gen Zers who are like bringing this sort of lo-fi bedroom pop shoegaze sort of revival, and Malbangs definitely pulls from a lot of those textures, as you mentioned earlier. Malbangs also played at that show with Bombs opening for Allison's Halo. So I think getting a lot of young listeners kind of funneled in there, but I think Malbangs has such a great grasp on collaging different textures, and I think you can really hear that in Raygun. I think the vocal mixing, going from 80s voice that kind of grounds the verses and then into that either the chorus or post-chorus, you can really hear Tom of Elisa Sparkle and Safety Switch. You can really hear his voice coming through, I want to say, with
I hear a lot of Tom in the songwriting as
with-
well.
yeah, and then sort of Anna's vocals coming through there as well, and it's just so delicately balanced. Yeah, I would just say great at collaging textures when I think of Malbangs.
Yeah, I got to know 80 I think like a couple 2 years ago when I was in like a downgrade. So we would be playing shows together, and then as well as like booking or helping book shows for Team Deathmatch, kind of like what Lindsay was saying, the whole sort of microcosm of like slowcore and shoegaze that like got super popular like over the past 2 years. And I believe these sort of, there's these bigger trends in like music, whether that's like shoegaze or pedal steel, that have its own reverberations in the local music scene. And I felt like 80s Project Malbangs was such like a good representation of that here locally in Atlanta. I feel like Malbangs, Team Deathmatch, or Hillview 73 or Boycat. I think there's a lot of different projects in Atlanta that really represent that super well. And what I love is, at least in the experience of bringing in some Nashville groups to Atlanta, like Total Life will be playing Drunk Unicorn, I believe, on September 21st. There's a connection between Nashville and Malbangs, and just everyone is just super impressed by it. And I think, yeah, the song craft's super interesting. I think it's very intentional, very emotional, and I think people can get really latch onto that. And whether it's like just 80 and Mason on stage or if it's a full band project, it's it's always a treat to see them live.
I'm glad you mentioned something like, to me this sounds so like current, like in the sort of what's going on nationally, in a way that I feel like sometimes, and this is not specific to Atlanta, but like a music scene can start to just become a pocket of like a certain genre, and it'll kind of ignore what's going on the national stage. Whereas this feels like what's going on in music at large. And I really appreciate that. Like it feels like this is Atlanta's version, or Atlanta's kind of contribution to this overarching sound, as opposed to it being something like, who knows what they're doing over in Atlanta? They're doing something else that maybe we're like not interested in on a national scale. But yeah, I think it sounds very, I don't know. Alt country's so big right now. Slowcore is so big right now. I think it just really I think it's really resonating with very current engaged music listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone feel like a lot of music right now is just very nostalgic? Like, I feel like, okay, I want to just share a little bit of, so I think we should talk about Elisa Sparkle for a second, because we were just talking about Ray Gun and Malvings, and Tom Sinclair is Elisa Sparkle, and he is in Safety Switch. And I know that, like, Ray Gun, because I was talking to Mason about the process of how they wrote that, because I may or may not have pitched a Malvings Posture Clinic collab to Mason recently. But we were just yapping, and I was like just so curious about other people's creative process. And we were talking about Ray Gun, and like kind of like I had learned like more about Tom's part in it. And Elisa Sparkle, Tom's project, he put out this EP called Dwell earlier this year. And I love, you were talking about how Malvings is kind of like the sentimental and uses like a collage of sound, which really reminds me of like Duster from like the 90s and early 2000s, and their use of like lo-fi. And like Tom, like one of his signature things is like this lo-fi, but also these very like perfect melodies, and then Elisa Sparkle with like samples. Like the sound collage thing is very Tom. And then our bandmate Melissa directed this music video, and I just wanted to play maybe a little bit of it, just so people could kind of get a sense of Elisa Sparkle too.
I can't find the signal in your car. I want to be where you are. I don't mind being across where I'm breaking the window to get more air. I want to be in your arms. I don't care how far away you live. Hello, I know where we can go. I like the way you lie. Get close to wherever you like. Get closer.
Sorry, the like ear piercing Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap style like sends me. I love that. Shout out to Melissa Chilson for the direction of this music video too. I think like pretty much the entire time I've known Melissa, she's been working on this music video, and I got a shout out in the credits just because I was the one who was like, oh, you should get your guitar, the guitar that they sacrifice in the bathtub. I was like, you should go to Music Around for that. Let's go. That's like what Ernie had it. I thought it was so sweet. Shout out to Music Around. But
shout out Music Around.
But I was kind of thinking about like, I feel like music lately in at least like this little echo chamber has been so nostalgic of like, you know, we've referenced like Duster, and I've referenced like Elliott Smith, and even like Malvings and Baum's like opening for Allison's Halo, like it is like a level of nostalgia as well. And I was kind of thinking about why that is, and I also just feel like where I'm curious if y'all think it has anything to do with like the socio-political like moment that we're in, because for me, I think that personally, I want to retreat into what I register as like just softer, more sentimental, like simpler times or nostalgia when things are frankly just like a bit much and the repression that we've been experiencing has been a lot. But I'm curious what y'all think about the music trends and if it has anything to do with like the political moment we're in. And in Atlanta specifically, the atmosphere like post Cop City, which opened in April.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's this sort of shoegaze revival that's been going on for the past few years. There's actually a really good article I always point people to that I believe was on Stereo Gum about like
Yeah.
what this movement is about. And I do think that it started out with people that were maybe more around our age that this sound is truly nostalgic for, where however it really resonated with Gen Z. And now we have a ton of these like younger bands that they're making music more influenced by like current shoegaze and not really the shoegaze that was coming around when I got into it, you know, like the big, not that they aren't still, but like when I was in high school and discovering shoegaze, it was all about My Bloody Valentine. And now I think the way that the article expresses it is like the deck has been shuffled and like Duster had a huge TikTok revival, you know, like it's Gen Z has grabbed on to very different things about the genre than was happening when it cycled back around 15 years ago and 15 years prior to that. So I don't know. I don't know what part of it is resonating with people necessarily, and it might just be the fact that there's a kind of monotony to it. There's a chaos to it, and maybe that's what's appealing to people right now. Everything is a lot, and so maybe that sound is just resonating with people. But I don't know. Maybe it's nostalgia for some people, but I think for this newer generation, it might be the chaotic aspect of it.
What do y'all think?
Yeah, the young people of the chat.
We're all like the same age, are we not?
We're not.
We're not.
I'm trying to
I
think.
forget how old you are.
I wonder if it's like the analog aspect of it all, because I think it's like, you know, this has been something I've been speaking with my roommates and my peers of like going analog of like of going analog of like, you know, taking less time off your cell phone and like, you know, especially with these conversations about streaming that have been happening recently, like, oh, people are buying CDs again, people are buying tapes again, and maybe that's reflective of like the kind of music that was specifically made to be listened to on CD or on tape, or the specific like with at least Sparkle video, like just being on like this kind of old sort of digicam. Maybe the analog aspects or these like old pieces of media and just trying to like replicate that. That's a good question.
I mean,
Well, especially, go ahead. Go.
Oh, thanks. I think there are a lot of things to point to when it comes to the nostalgia economy, which also the phrase nostalgia economy can be invoked in a very complimentary way or in a more critical approach. On the one hand, yeah, I do think that there is a yearning for the sort of aesthetics that certain genres are associated with. And I think that is particularly true with Gen Z, who are our digital natives, because even though we have scenes, we don't have scenes in the way that there were scenes in up through the 90s, because social media has allowed us to kind of homogenize what used to be something you could only go out and get live in person in your region. Now you can kind of like reach at it and get it from any corner of the internet. And so I think there's a longing to kind of invoke the different aesthetics and kind of cool, like signaling that you're in somewhere that comes with certain genres. Jake mentioned the sort of like camcorder footage of that music video. Obviously, on the one hand, there is an aesthetic desire there. It also is an accessibility point when it comes to a lot of analog equipment. That's not necessarily new. That's how a lot of music has started through the years. And then on the one hand, and this can either be positive or negative, when it comes to pulling from sounds that are nostalgic to us, these are time-tested sounds that we know work. And so you can kind of take from that foundation, and ideally you will add something of your own flair to it. And I, with Elisa Sparkle in particular, I am so pumped that Tom is finally doing a live set, because I promise you, I am the #1 streamer of the Elisa Sparkle project. There's a song that came out last year that's on that EP. The song is called I See You, and I wrote about it for Mainline's lineup. I swear to God, I am 5,000 of the streams on that song. It's so good. And it's interesting because I think Elisa Sparkle takes elements of what was happening in the American 90s grunge movement and also blends it with a little bit more of what was happening in 1990s England, with a little bit more of this jangly Britpop sort of flair. And the end result is kind of something a little, there's like some New Radicals vibes. There's like, if the 1975 weren't constantly pending cancellation for edgy comments vibes. And it works because Tom is so musically gifted at also like collaging in these other textures. Very practiced student of music. Yet another little troublemaker teacher. That he's able to take those references and then put his own spin instead of just spitting out the wheel again and trying to call it something different.
I'm so glad you said 90s grunge, because low key and Try, when he sings Hello, it reminds me of
Hello.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. And I'm just like,
An undeniable reference for sure.
Yeah.
right. And it's good. Were you going to add something else, Autumn? About
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Great.
I like
Were
when
you-
I like when people are unabashed about like this is what I was listening to, you know. I like that. I think it's a bold move, and I almost always like it. And I liked it there, and I was like, oh, a full Nirvana.
There we go.
And I love a local band that's like, okay, we're gonna do this big pop 90s rock song. I love that. Like, I think like Atlanta is known for like, you know, so many different genres, like at least like locally, whether it's like post-punk or like rap or like hardcore or what have you. And here we just like get a big pop rock song. And I think that's something special. I think that's awesome.
This is my Atlanta oasis, Elisa Sparkle.
Lindsay just saw Oasis, everybody. Also, we should.
I need
Lindsay had
everyone
the honor
to
of
know.
seeing Oasis. She went to the UK and everything, and she's different now.
I, right, you are a lassie. I am different. Gav a spot a day. I smoked 20.
Yeah, there's something different about Lindsay now. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Way back on the spot there, aren't you, lassie?
I want to highlight another artist, and I'm gonna like turn to Lindsay again, because this is another Flock Party inspo addition to the music fest. I saw Savoy perform, and Lindsay, you booked Savoy for a Flock Party. I had never heard of Savoy before, but I'm going to play just a little bit of her latest song, which I also played on album 88 on my guest DJ slot there. And I want to play a little bit and talk about it for a second.
I was a purple butterfly, dainty and weightless and flying high. When you blew me a kiss, it sent me floating in the thunder skies. I finally lost ya. The fog clears and eye to eye. Don't give me the thinking about you and me and the unhappy ending. Who am I kidding? You're living in my memory. It's burning me. Is the rain only outside my window? Are the clouds only over my head? Are you haunted when the howling wind blows? Round the words that you wish you'd say. Has this got the best of you?
That song is just so big to me. Like, I love the song. Lindsay, how did you learn about Savoy? Like, where did Savoy pop on your radar?
I want to say, I'm trying to remember if she reached out to me or if I reached out to her first. I'm honestly having trouble recalling off the top of my head, but
And shout out to Oasis, obviously.
right, of course.
My
Obviously,
favorite local band.
a major inspiring point for Savoy, Liam and Noel Gallagher. The through lines are just so evident to me. But finding Savoy's music was just like, oh my God, why isn't this person playing more shows here?
Yeah.
I'm such a big pop music propagandist. And
That is
so
what your banner should say whenever you log on.
a pop
Lindsay
music
Thomaston, pop music propagandist.
Put that in your bio. That's good.
I do have that in my Twitter, which I will not be calling by its new name. I do have that in my Twitter bio. But again, super pumped that we have a lot of pop acts here. I think people think that people either think that we don't have a pop DIY scene, or I think people, not just limited to Atlanta, kind of mistakenly think that pop music is kind of not something that you do at a DIY level. It is something that goes straight to studio and you just hope that you kind of get signed, which is not the case, although Savoy would have you probably pretty surprised up there on that stage because she commands it so well.
Mhm.
And I love that you get these sort of alternative pop there are some elements of alternative, like a little bit darker pop throughout her discography, but very dancey, a little bit of that like tropipop sort of vibe that you would maybe associate with an artist like Empress of or Blood Orange. You definitely get a lot of that influence there. And ooh, I'm so ready for that disco ball to turn on at Star Bar. And I'm going to be dancing.
I'm excited to see Savoy perform on a stage inside a venue with a disco ball. Although the projection screen at Flock Party was really sick. Like, Savoy to me was showstopper. Like, I think I was literally talking to someone, like, because it's like an outdoor show, you know, which is like a very casual vibe. And it was like the beginning of summer. But I literally just stopped in mid-sentence when Savoy was performing, and I was like,
such a powerful vocalist.
And I just remember like her doing like a thing, like she just like took up the entire
her hand movements, and
then talking to her after and booked her for the fest like on the spot. And I believe she was with her brother who like supports her in production and like live sound, and they were just like so nice and played her on the radio with this song, and it is like reminding me of that Blood Orange and like 2010s bedroom pop, and like what you were saying, it's like you think that like pop is something that, but also it's like I think Charlie XCX was also really important at that same time. So I remember listening to like The Knife, Justice, Crystal Castles, and Blood Orange and Charlie XCX, like all kind of around the same time, and it was when the bedroom pop thing was like really cool. And back to the analog note, I thought that was really interesting because it makes a lot of sense why people would be retreating to analog, especially because like at this stage of late stage capitalism and the surveillance state, it's like everything online doesn't feel like super safe. I've been like, can we go back to MySpace? And can I you know, have been making a lot more music like on an audio interface. Like I'm just wanting to do more like field sample, like Lindsay and I were like, you added like some sense with like field recordings of something and I like loved. It's just like kind of getting off the screen, but like the way that's reflected in music. So
Yeah, let's go back to MySpace and Post Secret. Get off your phones. We need it to be 2007 again.
Get off your phones and onto your desktop computer in the computer room of the house. Bring back a room dedicated to your computer.
the computer room. Oh my God.
Honestly,
Yeah.
we need that. We
Yeah,
need that.
start playing The Sims 2 again. And yeah.
Right.
AIM, and I remember me and one of my high school boyfriends would just stay up late, recite ping-ponging lyrics to some of our favorite songs to each other on AIM.
Where is
And
he?
then my mom, I don't know. No, he's doing well. I heard from I heard from like
He's
a high school
playing the
friend.
best. You guys have to
He's
go
playing
see
Oh my
it.
God. He's just
A
going to
high
be up on
school
stage
friend
making out
found
lyrics.
me on a high school friend found me on Instagram, and they're still friends, and they recently saw each other to go to see Brand New, and I didn't have the heart to tell them.
Oh,
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, so good to talk to you. But yeah, shout out dial up.
Shout out
But my
dial up for
mom,
sure.
I had like an AIM curfew, and my mom would like, I'm unplugging it. Say your goodbyes. We'd be
I
like
had
reciting our
dial-up
favorite
until
Linkin
I
Park
left for
songs.
college.
What?
I said I had dial-up until I left for college.
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
And my final little segment I wanted to do before we jump off is what are some acts that, you know, we didn't get to book this year that y'all are excited about? I want to give shout out and love to people outside of these 16, outside of Little Troublemakers, because there's a lot going on in the scene besides like the people that we booked and doing amazing stuff. So Autumn, pass to you.
Okay, who has just released stuff? There's a new Omni single that just came out.
We love Omni.
And Philip played our fest last year. He did a solo
He
song.
did.
Also, Seedbed. Seedbed just, I don't know if y'all saw their special little video they posted of getting their vinyl back for their record that just came out
Oh yeah.
into June.
And were you involved with that record? I can't remember like what you did.
That record was recorded before I ever met any of them.
This is true. It was like a 7-year in the
y-
making.
more than that. Yeah, I think they
Speaking
started
of slow burns, like yeah.
2015 or 16.
Shout
I was-
out JJ, shout out Terrence, two
yeah.
of like the nicest people.
Terrence
Swear to God.
Terrence loaned me this microphone. This cute little
Shout out
microphone.
Terrence.
Shout out Terrence. Yeah, just like a phenomenal record. I did get to write some press stuff on the back end of this record though, and have been hearing it finished for like 3 years. So I'm really excited that everyone can hear it on all streaming platforms now. So yeah, very, very psyched on that, and JJ's other project, Sloping. But yeah, also beautiful cover. It's a miniature.
Shout out Tay McCormick, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
Tay
was-
photographed it.
Mhm.
Jess, JJ's
Tay.
partner,
Tay.
she made the miniature. She like, I believe went to school for miniatures. That's probably not her official
out.
major. Yeah, it's
Shout
like you
out
can't even
Limelight.
tell. Yeah, just crazy cool cover that I'm just so impressed by, and just phenomenal record.
I
So-
highly recommend people go and listen to this record. Mouse at Your Feet is absolutely epic.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Really good.
Yeah.
It-
Any others, Adam? Everyone
Who else
gets
do
3.
Who else do I? Oh, these are new rules.
Yeah,
I did just make
I
that
only
up.
came with one.
Unless like
Like,
you could do as many as you want, and we can just
No,
be here all night.
okay. Also, I want to posit another thing because I always go back to reference my playlist, but because I start a playlist for the year,
Mhm.
for our end of year list, but because people are not using Spotify anymore, I don't know where we're gonna put our end of year list. Are we gonna do it on all of them? I don't know. I'm asking people. Oh, I also really like
Oh, we could do it on Tidal.
we'll release a sampler, a physical sampler.
Yeah.
We
Ooh,
could
because
shout out
of this-
Ribridge,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be sick.
Bandcamp. There are ways to do it on Bandcamp. You could also do it on YouTube.
I also really like Ultralights. Ultralights is a very cool new band that's starting to release singles, and yeah, very excited about them and what they've got going on. So yeah, those are my 3.
They were asked to play the fest early on.
They
But
were. They
They were.
weren't.
They
Oh.
were. No, yeah. Shout out Leela and John. Great folks. But they could not play the fest this year, but also the homies. Pass to Jake. Who are you excited about that's not on the Mainline Festival this year?
I have a couple bands that I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about Megan Dowling. I
Yes.
think Megan Dowling is the best performer in Atlanta. I think her and her band are phenomenal. It's a mix of like Kate Bush and Prince, and that is just such a fun mesh of sounds. It's just like you see her and it just feels like the real deal. I was like seeing her at like Star Bar. Like she's very theatrical, very expressive, and it brings in a lot of different people from the Atlanta scene on stage, like members of like Lowtown, members of Vessel, Isaac of Vessel on saxophone, which brings it to just has such a cool element. These singles have been amazing.
Which one do you like the
particularly
most?
New Shoes is so good.
Turn off the key. I know how to turn it on. Come back to me.
Okay, you are not lying when you said Prince. So the
Yeah.
Kate Bush reference that's always been a reference for me with Megan and her music, which I've loved. I have not yet gotten to listen to any of the singles on this record, but I was so stoked to see that this came out on DKA Records.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, shout out
Mhm.
DKA.
well, it's
a really
also like
special
an
project.
extension. It's like a growth for them as well, because DKA like like it fits really well for the DKA catalog, but I feel like it's a bit of a split from their usual kind of like goth dark wave. But like Sally Deej was an artist that they put out years ago, I would say like 2017 or 18, and this feels like a continuation of that type of release. And Megan is just absolutely fantastic. Like her vocal stylings are insane. If you can see her live, you absolutely should.
Yeah, so big shout out to Megan. I think, I'm really excited for when the full release comes out. Couple other acts. Nico from Big Yellow has been dropping some new singles that are like fantastic. They're having a release show on Saturday with Reed Winkler and two other electronic acts. One's called, I think, Bring Your Back, and then Deaf and Show. It's at Rocky Mountain Pizza. I think that's gonna be really good. Another really cool one is Felty. Felty's this new project from Abby Gregg, who released, I guess, a couple singles and has been around for a little bit. But this new Felty project brings a lot of different people from the music scene together to do this like kind of freak folk Elephant Six type of project. When I saw them play with JJ of Sloping at Joe's recently, they had two singing saws and a theremin. So if you're bringing two singing saws and a theremin on stage, it's going to be good. And it was fantastic. So I'm really excited for more to come from that project. And I think they should be playing the Strut this year as well. So
One for the
more on
Twee
that later.
girls.
One for the Twee girls.
Finally.
Also,
But
shout out to Tent, Tent.
Yes. They are going to be on the compilation tape that Mainline is putting out with Rope Bridge later this year.
They're awesome.
Breaking news again.
Yeah, I'm just dropping breaking news.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Second, Megan Dallin for sure. Just someone who so clearly just has a vision. I think, in the DIY scene, it's fine if you don't have a full vision. That's, for some people, they're just having fun, and that's the beauty of the DIY scene. But it is so evident that she has this cohesive world.
I mean, look at this album art.
I mean, right. Just like look at the album art, but it intertwines.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
It intertwines so seamlessly with her music. I want to shout out, this artist played Mainline's show back in March, but I am always going to be one of Rikaya's biggest fangirls here in Atlanta. Alt hip-hop girly, got some Jersey beats. She's from Newark originally, so you get a little bit of that, but also a little bit of that bass heaviness that Atlanta hip hop is really known for. She just dropped, I want to say this week, she just dropped a new single called ATL Stan, I believe. But she is amazing. Also just someone who I believe in so wholeheartedly because the vision is just, it's there and it's been there since day one. And then McKenna Lyric, who I somewhat recently was able to see at the supermarket, and man, I wrote about her album that she came out with last year for Mainline's end of year roundup, but that was the first opportunity I'd had to see her live, and talk about a showstopper. Oh my goodness, just such a powerhouse voice, but just beautifully textured folk music by way of, I would say, if you're a Big Thief fan, if you enjoy La Reine, you would definitely like McKenna Lyric's music. And it's also very sapphic and yearning, so that's always a positive in my book. But she is just excellent, and also produces her own stuff, which always gotta uplift femme producers because there are not many of them getting uplifted in the music industry.
Hell yeah. We love yearning.
There
will be lots of
for better or for worse.
There will be lots of yearning at the fest. And yeah, thank you, all of you, for coming on and chatting about it. So anyone tuning in or watching this later, the link that you see on the screen is where you can find all the information, all the details for each night. And you can buy a weekend pass for just $35. or $15 for individual nights. I think $35 is quite a steal for 3 banger lineups. Like, I also feel like this is a leveling up from last year in a way, because we had more time to prepare. But also, moving it to September, I think was a good call. Also, shout out Philip Frobos, who I want to kind of end on a note about like why this fest is happening. You know, even though like last year it was a bit of spur of the moment, kind of in response to a specific thing that was happening in the music industry with South by Southwest, but Mainline like got it, like I think our roots very much are in the music and like music community in Atlanta. So me personally, I got my start as a music journalist at Creative Loafing in 2017, which was the year that CL had laid off like a majority of its staff, like right, like I started in like the spring of that year, and then by Christmas, like they had laid off pretty much the entire staff. And then I contributed like sporadically through 2018, and I think my final piece was like in 2019. But it was a bit of a shell shock, I think, for the Atlanta community for like an alt weekly of the stature of CL, which has been a staple since like the 70s in Atlanta. So Mainline was really born out of that. So that's kind of like our posturing and like how we started in the local journalism scene in 2019 to fill this void. It was born out of these frustrations. And then you have all the gentrification that's happened throughout the city. You have all the like the Atlanta way prioritization of capital over like culture and art. And I feel like, and then you have like the South Cop City movement and the South River Music Fest and the traumatizing outcome of that fest in 2023. So in 2024, when there's ongoing protests outside of Atlanta against things like a genocide in Palestine and then ongoing like echoes of Stop Cop City, then you have things like, we do have festivals in city like bigger names like Shaky Knees, which I wanted to say shout out Philip, because when he and I got coffee like last year to talk about this idea, he was the one who articulated it very well. He was like, yeah, I mean, they're Shaky Knees, but they don't like book local artists. They don't like book Atlanta bands. And it was interesting to hear that from him, because he's in probably one of the biggest indie exports out of Atlanta right now, Omni, on Sub Pop. And I don't know if they like explicitly tried to get it, but it was just something that's like noticed. And I think I said something like, yeah, I know more musicians in the scene who are likely to bartend Shaky Knees than to like play it. But they get to come in and parachute in, and like it affects working class people with all the traffic. It affects like anyone that works in a restaurant or in the service industry that weekend. And a lot of those people are like music workers as well, to like musicians or music industry workers. So this is, to borrow what Autumn has said about Mainline in general, I feel like this is like my love letter to Atlanta and like the part of Atlanta that I love the most, which is like the music community. And I just like, the music community has been so resilient in my eyes since like I came of age in the scene in like 2008 or 9, like being 18, 19 and seeing like the Salmoneras for the first time and like Criminal Records when it was like in Little 5 Points next to the coffee shop, and just seeing it still like going strong despite everything going on. So that's like why this fest is happening. And then, you know, and supporting like independent media at the same time, which is like what Mainline does. So that's my spiel on why it's happening. And I wanted to touch on that. And thank you all for like being a part of it.
Yay.
Thank you for having us.
Hooray!
And,
Hooray!
hooray. And we did just add a DJ to the Sunday show. Crystal Vision is going to be DJing, but Crystal V is also an artist, and I wanted to play a song. breaking news. Everyone should tune into these because I will just drop random like breaking news features that I'm just like, oh, doesn't everyone know this? And it's not common knowledge. But anyway, we'll be back next week for another broadcast. But in the meantime, peace out. Thanks y'all for coming.